Hello, I'm that guy with the hood, and this is my friend Todd. Pop in, Todd.
Hey.
Yeah, he's Mr. Pop in. And listen, the '90s was a great time, okay? And I'm really thankful that a lot of shows, little by little, still air from the '90s or will be airing again. That's just a hint for those who don't know yet. But certain aspects of our '90s seemingly have been, and I'm not fully dissing it, but in somewhat ways have been raped. Okay?
Say what?
For example, Power Rangers. The show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was one of the best shows if you were in the '90s. As a child. Just Mighty Morphin alone lasted, how many seasons?
3.
Lasted 3 seasons, continued, and still had continuity to go on from Zeo to Turbo to In Space, and it all made sense. Well, it kept on with the story, but from there it was just like 1 or 2 seasons of another Power Ranger show just to sell toys. Anyways, many years later, Saban, no, I need to backtrack. Basically, after the Zordon era and after a few other eras, they did a great show called Forever Red during Power Rangers
Wild Force.
Wild Force, and that was one of the best shows ever, celebrating the 10th anniversary of Power Rangers, and I loved it. From there, Disney bought it, and they did a few good series of Power Rangers. I really did like SPD. I liked Dino Thunder, which is by far one of my favorites, except for Mighty Morphin, which is the best. And not that Disney edited crap. That was horrible. Anyways, Disney bought it from Saban and continued making more and more and more series of Power Rangers. Saban buys it back. It is the year 2011, and what do? They air Power Rangers Samurai.
Samurai!
Don't you ever pull that sword on me. Anyways, Power Rangers Samurai alone sounds like a good idea. And during the previews, it was a good idea. I mean, I was like, wow, Samurai. Because one character came back who everybody loves. Bulk. Not Skull. Not Bulk and Skull, just Bulk. You know. Well, I don't got a problem. I don't watch it on a weekly basis like the little children who end up getting suckered in to buy toys. But all I can say is, Lord, what happened to my childhood? I mean, I went to a convention earlier this year, and at the convention they had Morphicon, which you were able to do Q&A with stars from Power Rangers. I met Walter Jones, the original Black Ranger. I met Johnny Young Bosch, who replaced Walter as Adam.
Got his autograph.
He got his autograph. I got it too on my Final Fantasy Dissidia cover back at my house. And it was awesome. They were there. The girls who played Kat and Aisha were there, and it was the greatest feeling. One of the greatest feelings ever. You know, to meet people who you thought were so awesome. I mean, like, the only thing that could top it is if I met Jason David Frank, the Chuck Norris of Power Rangers. But enough said. Power Rangers Samurai, in my mind, sucks. Now, no, I do.
It's alright.
I don't know why he does that. But I do know a lot of aspects about Power Rangers watching from Channel Awesome's History of Power Rangers, starring Linkara as a commentator, and he does a great job, so I do know a lot of the history behind it, and he will eventually be covering Power Rangers Samurai. I'm waiting. But, oh my god, it's just... There were some things I just can't explain fully, and I'm not gonna edit this and then add footage. I don't even want to touch it. You see, I've seen some, and it's... Episode 1. You expect an explanation behind the villains, behind where the powers came from, or why these students were chosen to be Power Rangers, and they have a sensei who is a lazy ass. Whereas they could have got the guy from Kamen Rider, the original Kamen Rider guy, and he could have just been perfect. I know you don't believe me, but he could have. He did a great job in Kamen Rider. And this is just going to be a one-season Power Rangers as normal, but it should be more. It should develop a whole lot more like they used to do, and I just think it's a total waste. I mean, like the Zords. I'm sorry, I just peeped a little in my mouth. And what do they call their wannabe putties?
I don't know. Is there any name for them yet?
Those things we saw.
I don't remember.
They sounded like boogers.
I don't know.
Was it muggers or
Wasn't it like Vice something?
Voogers? Voogers.
Let's check the iPad.
He's got an iPad. Okay. And all I gotta say is, whatever, the villains don't even look imitating. When I was a kid, I saw Goldar, I was scared. When I first saw Scorpina in her human form, I was like, hey, that's a hot shit. When she grew into a giant, ugly, feces-looking scorpion monster, I didn't want to touch a woman for a year. I'm joking. But it's just like...
Nylox.
Nylox, yeah, thank you. Nylox? Okay, we go from...
Sounds like nylons.
Yeah, we went from
My hair looks
putties
horrible.
to Z putties to Tango Warriors to those things the Machine Empire had.
Cogs.
To those things from Turbo that I don't care.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, I don't... To these cool-looking things from Battlestar Galactica that were in space.
I forgot what they were called, but they were
They
cool.
looked like they were from Battlestar Galactica. So all these other things that little by little started to look retarded. And then we get the PBS version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's what we got here.
PBS wouldn't air Power Rangers. It's too violent.
Don't make me beat you up.
I'm a Green Lantern. You can't hurt me.
Plain and simple, that Green Lantern alone could beat up every Power Ranger and win. That one. Not Hal Jordan, not Guy Gardner, not the black guy. Him.
His name is Jon Stewart.
Not Jon Stewart. Him.
You're black, David. You should know that.
I'm half black.
Okay, you're half black. You should know.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I don't read a whole lot.
Didn't you watch Justice League?
No.
Oh, you said.
No, I watched Static. And that show was awesome.
But you still suck.
Justice League was cool, I guess. I do have the tape. I found a videotape of their movie. But now I'm getting off the point and it's reaching the 10-minute mark. All I have to say is, why? Why, Saban? You know what? I could write a better script for a Power Rangers series.
That's what Johnny Young Bosch said too. Remember?
Yeah, because one of the original Japanese scripts was talking about a monster that basically peed on people. He was given the creativity to write his own script, except it had to use a monster that basically peed on people.
And if you want to hear the story about it,
I don't want to.
No, I'm saying the video's on my profile.
Okay, but listen,
I believe it's under Power Rangers Second Anime 2011 Part 2. I believe.
Okay. But I basically I could write a good story for Power Rangers. I mean, imagine this, and if you steal my idea, go ahead. But you have to give some credibility to your original Saban fans from America who loved Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo, In Space, who watched Forever Red, who loved it when Adam came back in Turbo, who and then came back.
Hold on. Adam, what do you mean came back in Turbo?
There's an episode when Carlos is the.
That's Space, remember?
Oh, that was in Space. When he came back in Space.
And he morphed into Black Ranger again?
Yes.
That was awesome.
That episode. He came back in Operation Overdrive and took their place.
But that music sucked in the way he morphed. Remember that? It was all horrible.
Don't remind me of that.
Disney.
Yeah.
I like Disney too. Disney film music.
Plain and simple. Picture this. Okay, you start with a war. Okay, this is a great story. You start with the war, and the villain side is winning. You know nothing except for the fact that there are Power Rangers on the Earth, and little by little they are being extinct. All right, that's all you know. You got two guys who are at like some secret base or whatever on Earth. The Earth is trashed. Pika. And the Earth is trashed, and all you have to do is one of the two uses he becomes a Power Ranger and is going to fight the war, and it doesn't work out. And and then the other guy wanted to be a Ranger, and he ends up getting what's left over of like some old project time thing. I'm not saying he has to be a Quantum Ranger or a Time Ranger, but plain and simple, you're making a new set of Rangers, duplicating the powers of the Rangers of the past. Send them back. Send it to the point where you have a Ranger of the future meeting Zordon, but he can't meet the actual Rangers. And then when he goes back to the future, he meets the Rangers as their old selves, and they become mentors. That can work. That can work. For God's sakes, there are so many continuity errors from Mighty Morphin, from the Zordon era. I mean, the story was great, but there are certain continuity errors. For example, the Dragon Zord, still in the ocean. During the White Ranger, Green Ranger 2 or 3 parter, the Green Ranger turns good in the past and stays in the past with the green power coin, meaning that it's not gone. Give it to the guy in the future, you got your Green Ranger. Just add some modifications. It seems like you can fix a power coin because freaking Jason, who transferred his powers to Rocky, who lost the powers, basically was able to morph into a Red Ranger. Forever Red. Or here's the idea. Why don't you just clone Tommy like 5 times? Okay? Black Ranger, 2 Red Rangers, White Ranger, Green Ranger. There, Tommy Army. Chuck Norris. Plain and simple. Power Ranger Samurai, you done fucked up, and that Zord, it looks like it looks like the dinosaur got eaten by the Thunder Megazord, which is a real looking samurai Zord. Okay, that thing looks really samurai. And then for dessert, it ate the Shogun Megazord and took a shit. And by far, one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot from Saban. You guys tortured me with TMNT, The Next Mutation. Alright, I watched Beetleborgs.